weekly meeting, our finance meeting every Wednesday. And at this point, we open the floor for any public comment on issues other than what's on the agenda. Not seeing any public comments, we will move along. And today's topic for presentation. Danny, you're going to give us an update on what's happening in the veterans.
Wow, right to it.
Yes, sir.
Had music planned, but Twisted Sister had previous engagement, so it's just me. So a lot of this, some of this stuff to be aware of. When I came in, the grant award from the previous director had not been acted upon. One person had been keeping the office afloat. She did a great job over the 4 or 6 months, whatever it was, over last summer. I had found that just in discussions with some of my contacts and some past issues regarding the veterans experience in the county, sometimes were kind of on the negative side. They didn't have a lot of confidence to come to the office and get the help they were looking for, but that's really kind of turning around. There's limited engagement with community resource providers, no outreach program. So I reimagined the previously written grant that was recently approved, as you already know. The previous administration assistant, she's now a veteran service officer. She's taking claims, doing the real estate tax exemptions, those types of things. We hired a new administrative assistant to take her place. Recently completed the VA approved training, working towards getting access to be able to see their databases, which will help what we're doing for veterans like exponentially. So it'll be a huge leap forward. I spent a good amount of time reconnecting with past contacts that I had when I worked at the American Legion. Really got a good network of organizations together right now. We've started outreach visits to smaller communities. We talked about Boiling Springs, Mount Holly, and the American Legion in Newville. Looking to expand those down the road. But so using the funds for the approved grant, we're going to begin to hold events and town hall meetings. We're going to try to shoot for quarterly in different areas. Really, the whole goal is to just highlight resources that are already in place. We have anywhere between 70 and 110 different resources available just in the county, and nobody knows, what they are. So, going to get that word out. Our first event there is March 19th in Hampton Township. Now we'll see how it goes. The next one I'm working with, tentatively planning down at Representative Acker's office in Boiling Springs, kind of an outdoor event at the township building down there, hopefully around May-ish. So we'll try to get that together fairly quickly here. The PA Vet Connect, that's an initiative from the DMVA. It's a provider network also, so we're really integrating that into what we do. It has definitely given us another level of contacts for a veteran that comes in with, there's some unique situations that come up, but that has really let us get them to the right person. Want to continue to add outreach visits in the underserved areas. Weekly, I come in contact with a veteran who had a claim that they should have been getting a benefit award for, and they just didn't know or didn't want to come into town to file a claim. Lots of reasons. I want to work with Sharon, the new VSO. She needs to get access to the VA databases. Once I get mine completed, and then I can give her some training on how to best use them. It'll really streamline what she's doing. So that leads us to new ways to try to reach veterans that have earned benefits and have not applied. Started to discuss ideas with some other veteran service organizations to create an annual event, a state level annual event, but I want to have it here in this county. There's a lot of interest in the idea, so but we're really just at the beginnings of that. So we'll see where it goes, but it would be like a 3 or 4 day veteran event. try to take advantage of Senate Bill 976, which I'll talk about on the next slide. The hope is to increase access to veterans courts in neighboring counties. And the amendment is to remove language in Title 42. It says services can only be offered or utilized by adjacent counties. The change would be to open up to any county in the Commonwealth. I just talked with Senator Mike Regan's office yesterday, which I think that's where this change originated. They're pretty hopeful this is going to pass in the pretty near future. I was selected to serve on a panel that with a collaboration of the VA and substance abuse mental health services. The goal is to create some policies and law changes that will try to address addiction and suicide in veterans. It was last week in DC. The Rand Corporation was a big part of it. We had some great workshops. So we identified 3 areas for our state to work on. And that's to better identify service members, veterans, and families, try to target high-risk members of this group. And to do that, we want to create a coordinated data sharing process, which there's a lot of work to be done there. Standardized reporting forms, provide suicide risk factors training to first responders, similar personnel. So it's all, get more standardized, and that way we can identify weak areas. We talked about increasing access to telehealth services. So we want to increase funding to expand internet access, especially in rural areas. I mean, I only live 23 miles from town-ish. I don't have internet access, which is crazy to me. We can run a remote control car on Mars. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So anyway, we really want to work at increasing that. Even on a tablet, a veteran could have a face-to-face with somebody at a crisis center, pretty much any time if you can get that access. So we think that would be a pretty big step forward. Lethal means safety and safety planning. There's some data that proves that if you can just delay the veteran or anybody from getting access to a weapon for just even a few minutes, it makes them rethink the whole process of what they were doing. So we want to, gun locks are available from the VA for free. So when we do these town halls, the VA is going to part of those. They're going to bring gun locks with them. We're going to try to track how many we're giving out to see if that has an impact on what we're doing. We talked about suicide prevention training. We also want to target, and this we got from another state actually, point of sales, gun shops and sports clubs. It's not really about gun control or anything, it's just really about making a safer situation for the guns that are out there. And the big thing I'm trying to do is spread the word. That's what all these town halls are about. When I go to meetings for other organizations, it's all about spreading the word and what's available to them. So, is there any questions about what's going on over there?
I did have one question.
Yeah.
Just occurred to me. Maybe I'm missing something here on this. So you mentioned about ensuring that services available to veterans in underserved areas.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not clear on that because
I guess that's what I'll just give you an example. I might have talked about this before, so I'll apologize. I did an outreach at Mount Holly Springs, VFW. A veteran came in there that should have been getting a claim for about 10 years. But he said he didn't feel comfortable coming to town. He's kind of handicapped. So where the office is located, closest parking space to me is about 200 feet, which is kind of a long ways for, a veteran with difficulties. So he didn't want to come to town, so by us going to him, to me, that's an underserved area where those people didn't have access to a claim process. So I guess that's what I mean by that. Okay. Same way with Newville down there at that American Legion, you can park right at the door, they have a ramp, so on.
that sounds great. I guess the question that raised in my mind is, I think it mentions here, typically our rural communities. And that raises a question to me because, of course, most of our population bulk of our population is in the West Shore area,
Right.
which is more suburbanized and not rural.
Mhm.
And there is a significant veterans presence there as well.
Right.
And yet your office as well as a number of offices here, we fight this situation in which county services are seen as Carlisle.
Right.
The greater Carlisle area.
Mhm.
So when we talk about underserved areas, my first reaction would be that Carlisle certainly is not an underserved area.
Agreed.
We've got a huge population here, of course,
Right.
for a variety of reasons, and I think most of them are
Mhm.
aware of it and able to capitalize on that. But there are a lot of folks who are in the other areas, particularly that are not rural,
Right.
where the service probably would be underutilized and of more importance.
Correct.
So I hope we're gonna keep that in mind and be making our effort to
Yeah.
not just focus on rural areas as the underserved areas, but actually the more populated areas potentially could be underserved areas.
And this is part of that network I was talking about. So I'm really working very closely with the American Legion. They have an office right there in Warrensburg.
Mhm.
They have 3 service officers there.
Yeah, that's the state office, isn't it?
That's the smart department headquarters, correct?
Okay,
Yeah, so there's 3 service officers there that can do everything and more than I can do. So, it's not that I'm not don't think that's important to get there. There's resources already
Oh,
there.
okay.
And that's again, they're gonna be at this town hall in Hampton Township.
So, they're gonna be there, that's great.
Yeah.
Are they doing any type of outreach on their own within that geography, or is that up
Not-
to us as the county to do that?
They work very closely with us. They do one down in Shippensburg, actually, at Representative Mark Keller's office.
Oh,
That's once a month. They don't do as much in Cumberland County just because their office is there. You know, we're kind of expected to do our part in the center. They do hit Shippensburg. So just by working with them, we've really added the capability.
Okay. So you're coordinating pretty closely with them?
I try to talk with them every day.
Oh, wow. Good.
Anthony Jorgensen, he took my position there. He and I, we communicate at least daily, I would say. At least 3 times a week anyway. We talk a lot. We share the same database. So if I even start a veteran, they can pick it up. I mean, I always talk to our veterans about, if they live in a Knoll or Camp Hill. And I just don't get it, that they don't know. That huge building sitting right there. And I told me today, I thought that was a bar. That's the admin office for the whole state, so.
Right. Well, I think sometimes some folks also, when they assume it's a state office, that's the central office and not
Right.
necessarily a local service provider.
Right.
So,
I actually made some suggestions to, at the State Veterans Commission. So that whole service officer program is paid for through a grant. I think I've talked about that before. The American Legion gets around 1.2 million, VFW gets around the same amount. I think they ought to make say 1% of whatever the Legion, VFW, whoever takes in has to be devoted to marketing. Because they don't talk about that program at all. But yet the Legion has 25 people in their service officer staff throughout the state they'll talk about. And VFW is much the same way. So they've got to do a better job with that, and that's kind of one of the things I bump my head up against. But I'm going to their district meetings and talking to them about, you got to up their game. They want membership, get out there and get it. Nobody knows what you're doing. Why would I give 30 or 40 bucks a year to join you when I have no idea what you're doing? So,
sounds like some missed opportunity there, but
yeah.
working on
And I wouldn't know if I hadn't worked there. I mean, the things I learned that the Legion does after I started working there just really boggled my mind that nobody's talking about this. So there's definitely some missed resources there. So anyway, that's why I haven't concentrated so much out there, because it's really already available.
it. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, Rob, any other questions?
This panel that you were selected to serve on, is that the state group, federal group?
It's the state group. So they have this thing called the Governor's Challenge.
Right.
There are 7 states involved this year. And this panel met down there. They were all part of that conference. But it's a state level effort. Because each state had, unique needs and resources.
So, Dan, how many, you might have said this before, how many outreach meetings do you have like per week?
Right now I have 3 a month.
3 months?
Yeah.
You're gonna be increasing that?
I'd like to, but right now there's just not enough resources available to do that. Because the office is, we're doing 30 to 40 calls a day.
Yeah.
As we become more capable, there's a lot more people coming in. And these networks I've talked about, they're all the time sending me a referral, so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's great, yeah. So, in as much as possible, we ask them like where they live, and we try to either get them to one of the outreach visits, or I send a lot of people down to the Legion. That's probably a daily call that they just, they don't know to go down there, so.
That's
Danny,
good.
are you saying that the biggest issue you're finding is that the vets, generally speaking, don't realize the benefits they have?
Yeah, absolutely. This one I talked about in Mount Holly, he was a Vietnam vet. The Agent Orange list is like 12 diseases. A couple of the most common are diabetes and heart disease. I mean, if you're an American, you're getting those 2 things.
Right.
But they don't know that that's like an automatic reward.
No, I don't know this, but when a military person is discharged,
Mm-hmm.
do they get any education or knowledge like, hey, by the way, since you're a veteran now, this is blah, 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 what you get?
Yeah, they really don't. That's one of the, I actually talked about this at the conference last week. I said, when a person joins the military spends weeks and months beating the civilian out of it. And then when you're done, they walk in the gate and say, have a nice day.
Go be a civilian.
Yeah, they don't know so we don't know what it means to be a veteran. It takes a long time to figure that out. It took me a long time. I remember filling out applications when I first got out, didn't even ask, are you a veteran, And that's changed, of course, but, so there's no veteran training, if you will. So that's a change. They're working on that.
Okay.
And they're gonna, in the last 6 months of anybody's enlistment, they have training modules that they have to go through to improve what they know. And then when they get out, the VA is, I can't think what they call it, safe contacts, I think they call it. And it's every 90 days, they're calling the veteran and just say, how are you doing? How's the job hunt? How's this? How's that?
That would be at the federal level?
That's at the federal level.
That's good.
Yeah, so we're working I'm trying to get a list of who's discharging that comes back to our county. The trouble with that is, if you get out and say North Carolina, a lot of people stay there. But I would get a notice that they discharged because this was their originating county. So that's something we gotta work through a little bit. But that's the ultimate goal of that effort, is to get a list who's discharging when, and that we can contact them right away.
Yeah, I would think that would improve things so much.
And I thought it was an easy thing.
Yeah, it is.
But no.
It's not.
It sounds easy, but it all goes by where they originated from, not from where they discharged, which I can understand.
Yeah.
People go all kinds of places, A lot of people stay here after they discharge, so.
So know the private sector, before you retire, 6 months ahead of time, a year ahead of time, they're prepping you.
Oh, yeah.
As to what you have to do, and this is what you'll get.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Military
Vets
vets.
can't do a better job of that. That would eliminate
I'm sure it's
a lot
some
of
money,
issues.
some resources.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, we're done with it, go away.
So unless we know about them, really only the way to reach them is through mass media.
This through what?
It's through like a mass media contact. There's no individual.
Right now, yeah, that's the best way to do it. So that's why I thought I've done town halls at the Legion, and they were pretty popular, although usually with the older vets, but still. That's why I had 2 time frames on this. I thought maybe catch some after work. But that is the only way right now, is to, that's another thing. I remember back in the 80s, there was always these public service announcements for about everything you could think of. Don't see those anymore. There's nothing out there.
Do we put veteran-oriented messages about services on our current social media website and things like that?
We have when I started, we were putting certain things on, but we can always, cross promote with, on your page and on our main county page. And there are always, if we have some money from that grant, we could probably do some media outreach.
Okay.
And we could also do PR around it. We don't need to pay
Right.
to get the word out about the situation. And I think that that's the most important. If we're not reaching these people, we gotta get that message out there.
Mhm.
Aside from the town hall meetings,
Right,
to
right.
tell them that these resources are available. And we can help with that.
That's why I've been really using the state reps, state senators, because then they do an email blast to everybody on their list. It's really kind of exponentially increased what we're reaching.
They also do, occasionally, they do newsletters and things like that, so about services, so that's useful. Now, one of the things we've addressed for other departments is the fact that a lot of our municipalities have newsletters as well. So, I don't know if that's something we can tap into. The problem with traditional media is there may be a lot of vets out there who aren't watching television anymore, or aren't
Right.
watching at the moment that you happen to be on there. Maybe don't get a newspaper. Lots of people don't get a newspaper around here anymore. So for a variety of reasons. So we need to find as many alternative ways. I would think especially when you're doing these, if you're going out to a Legion or something, if that's scheduled far enough in advance, ask the municipalities to, the nice thing with the municipal newsletters, they go to every mailbox. And
Right,
people
right.
may or may not read them, but there's a lot of them do get read.
Right.
They also have social, because I've sent it to our municipal,
Exactly.
our municipal leaders, like all our, other issues that we've had. And I've sent it to them, and they have posted on Facebook, and they still have their newsletters that they can, I write it just for them. But we can do the town hall meeting.
Great.
I can send the Operation Inform, that's what we called it, Operation Inform. I can send that out to all the municipal leaders. And also, we might want to look at law enforcement and EMS, because maybe some veterans are in law enforcement and EMS.
Right.
And we can send it out
Yeah,
that way
that'd be
too.
good, sure.
Yeah,
You
so we
mentioned-
can do that.
And the outreach are always, they're always like the third Wednesday of the month, the second Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever.
So
There's always a schedule.
I should be able to.
Yeah.
You mentioned the municipal media, and that's great. A lot of times we send things out to them, they're willing to just put it in there. But if there's grant money available too, you can pretty much guarantee they'll pick it up if you're offering to buy an ad. Because a lot of the municipal newsletters and even the websites now,
Yeah.
you can buy an ad on there.
Gotcha.
And that you'll get prominent placement and guaranteed placement.
We can do
Right.
we can do a Facebook ad with
There you go.
helping veterans, and we can boost it on ours
Okay,
and yours.
great.
And we've done Facebook ads for, Claremont and other,
Sure.
other things that we've done, so we can do a Facebook ad for that.
Yeah, and I had money in that grant to do some of this stuff.
And
so-
that's not expensive, but the reach you can get
Right.
is phenomenal. So especially with your Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, that's great.
we can do that.
And I do, so any veteran can register with the DMVA, the Veteran Registry. Everybody on that registry gets a newsletter, and the event went in that, although it goes to a lot of people, obviously, that aren't commuting, but it does go out that way also. Okay,
Sounds like we're being a lot more efficient than we were.
I hope
a
so.
couple of years
I
ago.
try not to disparage anything going on in the past, it is what it is. Yeah.
This is.
But,
You mentioned that, and I certainly don't want to be impolite, but I mean, I think there are some individuals who may have had past interactions with that office and have been discouraged
Yeah.
from their interaction for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of folks who may not know that you're here now, or that there's been a change.
Right.
Because I will tell you, it's, I frequently, not frequently, but occasionally, people will ask me to say, oh, is such and such still there? Or is
Mhm.
so-and-so still there? And I tell them, no, such and such left last year, and so-and-so left earlier.
Right. I know a lot of times I'll get a call from somebody I know, and they'll say, hey, we just sent somebody to you. but they didn't want to come down because
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z in the past.
There's past history everywhere. I mean,
Yeah, so we're gonna overcome that slowly but surely. Okay, thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we have, well, that was our topic for today, so at this point, we open the floor for any other business, anything?
I have nothing here.
I have nothing.
Nothing, anybody's, any staff, anything? I guess not, okay, we're good, well, that was a very nice presentation, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
And with that, we'll call the floor day, thank you.